Recently, the DA wrote to the US to send in election observers to South Africa. They were called treasonous and cretinous. We agree with cretinous. But for some reason, America says we're going to send observers to South Africa to get off the grey list. And that's all of a sudden not treasonous. Weird, isn't it?
Now, you may recall, ladies and gentlemen, that we actually broke the story of the grey listing. I think we were one of the first major people to actually comment on it and what it would actually mean for the financial services in South Africa. No one watched that video because no one cared. And lo and behold, 6 months later, South Africa was grey listed. And all of a sudden, everyone cared. But would you know, we're still on the grey list. Because apparently, South Africa has significant shortfalls when it comes through to combating, would you know it, crime. Apparently, crime's out of control here. Who knew? I mean, I didn't know. Clearly, you know. So America says, you know what? We're such good guys. We're going to send through some actual observers to help you. Now, let me think about this, Ramon. The Americans are going to send people to help combat terror financing and illicit financial flows. Who's responsible for that in America? Well, it happens to be the CIA. Can't see what would go wrong here.
Exactly. I mean, what America is doing is sort of ensuring they have no competition for terrorist financing, because only they can do it, right? No one else should do it because it's very lucrative. So South Africa can't do it. That's why they invented the grey list. I think America created, after 2001, they created anti-terrorism money laundering laws. They forced every other government in the world to sign it. And then when it came back for America to sign it, they did not do so. To this day, America is still the greatest money launderer the world has ever known. And therefore, it is within their best interests to target illicit flows of money from every country in the world because it interferes with their illicit flows of money. So it's very weird to me that the biggest corrupt criminal enterprise in terms of illicit financial flows is helping South Africa curb the very thing that they are known for. It's basically like Hamas coming here to teach us about tolerance with Israel. Like, it just doesn't jibe.
No, it really doesn't. But you know, you may also be thinking, there may be a more sinister reason for this. And Ramon, actually, it's worthwhile reading directly from the communication that the Americans sent. And they said, the steps that you are taking to address the risks associated with illicit finance and also with the financing of terrorism are important steps that are needed to attract more capital from the US and more capital from around the world. And the US wants to be your partner. Yeah, this might also be because the ANC keeps siding with Iran, who aren't friends with America, and Russia, who aren't friends with America. So what America's really trying to do is buy the ANC, I suppose. You could infer that. What do you think?
No, absolutely. I mean, even the Deputy Minister of Finance, David Masondo, was saying how great it is to collaborate with the Americans on this particular thing. And people kept saying, oh, we'll have sanctions against South Africa for the ICJ thing, and we'll have sanctions for supporting Russia. Bullshit, guys. As we called it over and over again, America is good at two things: illicit financial flows and being woke and gay. And they are very woke and gay. And for them, it's out of the question to overthrow a black government in Africa. It just doesn't make sense. They will tolerate the ANC. They don't want to force the ANC to become a vassal state for Russia and China. So when they say they want to help increase investment in South Africa, this is what they are doing. They're acting like they're helping, because first they're curbing competition to what they do. And secondly, they're not letting Russia and China deal with this, or let Russia and China give us loans that will deal with this as well. So it's very smart on the Americans to do this to South Africa, but it is a touch of hypocrisy when financial observers can come here to combat financial illicit flows, but election observers can't overview the elections of, the most important elections since 1994, apparently.
Yeah, you may say that. I have a slightly different approach to this, I suppose. And that is, you know what I find really curious? The amount of individuals that told the government that they would lose AGOA. You know, the American trade agreement? Yeah, we didn't lose it. And we called that. And many people told us we were full of cock. We were definitely going to lose that. And we didn't. Not only did we not lose that, but actually, very interestingly, the exact statement from the Americans say, we will work together to strengthen our relationship with trade. Our relationship, as far as investment is concerned, blah, 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 some other stuff, but they basically say it's important because South Africa needs investors. Yeah, that doesn't sound like they're cancelling AGOA, mate. That actually sounds like they want to work with us in terms of trade. Now, you see, that for me is very curious. Because you know what they can't do? They can't say we come into South Africa's economy because they got such a stable electricity supply and such a stable supply of water that we can like build stuff here. And the workforce here is so disciplined and they never strike. So, what a great workforce. So why are they wanting to work with us on trade? Now, the answer could be that they just love us that much. But I call bullshit. What do you call?
Well, the only reason they want to work with us on trade is to understand that trade with Russia and China doesn't increase dramatically, right? Russian trade is 3%. Chinese trade, I think, is in the teens, or the second or third largest trading partner. And if the Americans come in to help us with all these financial flows in our economy and finance, they know exactly what is happening, what deals are struck between our governments and other governments. And therefore, they need to be aware of that to ensure that we don't become, again, too reliant on those Eastern partners in BRICS, because then America will lose the South Atlantic corridor, and therefore South Africa will become, well, useless to absolutely everyone. So it's a very delicate balancing act. I just find it very strange that the ANC says America is treasonous in some sense, and then they're very good in other senses. But to me, fundamentally, the greylisting is going to stay with us for many years to come. Out of the 23 things we need to do, we've done 5. With a year to do them, we've done 5. Welcome to Retail Danistan. Even America can't help that.
No, and it's important to note that the 5 things that we did do were basically already done by the time we got grade listed. Because remember, the grade listing report was done prior to a recommendation to be grade listed. By the time the actual report resulted in an actual grade listing, we had already fixed our 5 things. So if you really think about it, we've made no progress on the report whatsoever. And it's very curious that even the article that cites us says we're expected to remain on that list for at least another year. Now, I think at least another year is being ambitious. At least another 10 years, probably more like it. But with that being said, Ramon, I do agree with you. I find it very peculiar that the ANC constantly talks about neo-colonialism, all these colonial forces. America is imperialist because it's, funding the Israelis who are going out there and hurting the poor Palestinians. And look what they did in Africa and slavery and stuff. And then they're like, but we'll take your money. Please invest with us and help grow our economy. Yes, that makes sense. But then again, nothing with the ANC ever does.
The only thing that makes sense is how important we are to America. Just think about this. We fund Hamas, literally. Banks in South Africa have been funding Islamic terrorism for years. We go to the ICJ against one of their great allies. We support Russia in the Ukraine conflict. And we basically badmouth everyone around and say, America's causing a genocide in Gaza. All these things, for any other country, the Americans would be like, up yours, fucker, and then just go. But not here. Here they just keep coming back, wanting to help us, wanting to say more, we need more investment, everything, which goes to show maybe South Africa is not such a shithole country after all. Maybe we are actually very useful to a variety of governments around the world. It's just that, ours is just a bit retarded to understand that.
Yeah, but when it comes through to being useful, let us just remind ourselves of one phrase. Useful idiots.